Okay, good morning and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube, just Daf It, Daf Yomi Shir, led by the one, the only, Shmuel Silver. No. Shmuel Silver used to sit here sometimes with me. He's sitting over here in the back. Say hi, Shmuel. Shmuel is my biggest fan. He said, "We love you, Ben Sion. We love you." No, the shir is led by Ben Sion Lang. Yours truly. Today's daf is daf Samech Gimel, number 63. We'll be starting off with the famous story of Rabbi Akiva, where he famously went away to learn for not just 12 years, but 24 years. And then we'll start talking about moredes. You're in a marriage. One of the partners decides they don't want to help out the other spouse, presumably in the bedroom, maybe also helping them earn a parnasa. We'll see what the halacha is about that. Let's start from the bottom of Samach Beis and Beis. The Gemara says about 4 lines from the bottom. Akiva Raya Debin Kalba Savu Hava. He was a shepherd. Akiva started as a shepherd, just like the Avos. He was a shepherd. Chazise Barte Dahava Snia Vamali. The daughter is Kalba Savu. The Gemara says in Gittin is one of the wealthiest people in Yerushalayim. Anyone who would go into his house as hungry as a dog, called Kalva, would leave satiated. Savua. He was obviously a big philanthropist, also giving away a lot of tzedakah. Chazize Bart Devasnil Mali, his daughter saw. She was attracted to him. He had good midos, apparently. He was sanua. He was a private person. Amrele imikdashna Allah azal beiravi. If I become mikudeshes to you, if I decide to marry you, apparently he was a shepherd because he wasn't a very learned person. Her father, being one of the big philanthropists of the days, was also balabatish and was into learning. He had various mostos that he supported, including the Mir Yeshiva and BMG and Lakewood. Kalba Savua was giving checks to everybody. You think Rechnitz gives a lot of money. Kalba Savua used to give them 5,000 shekel a month. He's Avrechem. The times have changed. Rechnitz is only giving him 1,000 shekel a month. Kalba Savua used to give him 5,000 shekel a month. He had a daughter. Of course, you want your daughter to marry the biggest Talmud Chacham from Tifrach, from Ponovich, Amir. Not a shepherd like Avram Yisrael and Yaakov or Rabbi Akiva. Not like Avram Yisrael, Yaakov, or Rabbi Akiva. No, Talmud Chacham, Muflag, Chevron. Or brisk if you're American. So Amrlei, so she wanted to get Mikudeshes to him. So Amrlei in Mikdishalei. So she said, yeah. He said, yeah, I'll marry you. Ikdishalei Besina, they got married. They have Kudesha. It doesn't say they actually got married. They had Kiddushin. They were engaged. Besina V'Shadarte. Apparently sent them away even before the marriage. Shama Avua, when her father heard about who she got engaged to, Afkami Beise, he threw her out of his house, his mansion. Adra Hanoah Minichse. He took a neder that she shouldn't get benefit from any of his nachasim. He wouldn't support her. And Razla Yosef Trey Sarishnin. Bikiva went 12 years to learn in the Beirav, in the yeshiva. Kiasa, when he came back after 12 years, I see Bahadi Trey Sari Alpi Talmidi. He had 12,000 students. Shama Husaba, the Kamerla, an elderly man, was saying to her, Ad Kama Midaberes, top of Samach Yom Aleph, Almanas Chaim. You're basically a widow while you're alive. Amrulay, Iladidi Sayas, if he would listen to me, Yasif Tresari Shnei Achrini, I would let him learn another 12 years in yeshiva. Amar, apparently he overheard this conversation without seeing her. Amar Bershus Kavidna. He said, she gives me permission. Hadar Azal Yasif Tresari Shnei Achrini. He listened to her, even though she didn't directly tell it to him. She wanted to spend another 12 years. Beirav, Kiasa Aisi Bahadeh Eshin Arba Alpe Talmide. He had 24,000 students. Shama, he was doing pretty good. He made 1,000 students a year. That's pretty darn good. How many Rosh Hashivas can recruit 1,000 students a year? I mean, it's not so easy, Shmuel, right? 1,000 students a year. He was doing pretty good. He was a prime time Rosh Hashiva. I don't think there's any yeshiva that has 24,000 students. The biggest yeshiva nowadays, huh? Yeah, I mean, the biggest yeshiva nowadays, I think, is the Mir Yeshiva. I think it has close to 7,000 or 8,000 Talmidim, including Avrechem. The BMG maybe six or 7,000. Rekiva 24,000. He did pretty good. 24,000 is really good. Um, Shama to be told. So when he came back, his wife heard about how Kanafak La'ape. She was going out to greet him. Amr La Shavisa, the neighbor who saw her going out to greet the big Rabbi Akiva, the Gadol Ador, Sheli Mani Lavusha Ve'echsi, wear some proper clothing. She obviously had very tattered clothing. She didn't have any income. She had no money. I don't know how she lived for 24 years. Um, Apparently, they didn't have any children because they were just engaged. So, uh, wear something nice. Wear a nice shaitel. Amrlo, Yodeh Sadik Nefesh Behemto. The Sadik knows even the soul of his animal. Even if I'm like an animal, the Sadik knows how to treat his animal. Kimata L'Gabei. When she came next to him, Nafla Al-Apa, she fell on her face, coming Ashkli L'Kari. She was kissing his foot. Imagine a woman walks up to a gadol and starts kissing his foot. Havakam Mitchivele Shame, his attendants, Gaboyim, were pushing her away. Amrlu Shafkua. He said, leave her alone. Shali v'shalachem shalah. My Torah knowledge and your Torah knowledge are all an account of her. Shama shalahu belongs to her. Shama avua da'asa gava rabba. Her father heard that a great man came, lamasa. Amar Ezel l'gabei efshar the mefer nidrai. He was upset that he took a neder to aser his daughter from his nechasim. Asa l'gabei. He went over to Amar le'adaita the gava rabba min adart. He said, did you take a neder knowing that maybe this person who married your daughter was going to become a great person? Even if I knew she would marry somebody who would learn one parak, right? One parak of Gemara, even one halacha from the Shulchan Aruch. Amalei, Anahu. He said, I am that man. Certainly, he knew a lot more than one parak, one halacha. Nafal Ape, he also fell on his face. Apparently, this is the custom to kiss people on their feet. He gave him half of his wealth. They had a daughter. Apparently, he came back after 24 years. And after 24 years, she was still able to have children. They had a daughter. So she did Ben Azai Hachi. She married Ben Azai. The Gemara says Ben Azai didn't actually get married, apparently. That's the question the Rishonim asked. The Gemara Yevamos says Ben Azai didn't get Chashka Nafsha B'Torah. So Tosas says maybe they got married and divorced. So she did for Ben Azai Hachi. Right? A sheep goes after a sheep. Just like a mother does, a daughter does also. Rav Yosef Brei the Rava Shadrei Avua LeBei Rav. This is an interesting story, Shmuel. Rav Yosef, the son of Rava, right? Rava was a big Amora. His son Shadrei Avua LeBei Rav. He sent him to yeshiva. L'kamei Rav Yosef, to learn from Rav Yosef, who was the generation ahead of Rava. Paskule Shis Shani. This is after he got married. He said, go learn for 6 years. Can have a Tlas Shani. When 3 years were up, Mata Mali Yom Kippura, Amar Ezel Vechzino Linshe Beise. So I'll surprise my wife. She hasn't seen me since the wedding. I'll come to her for Yom Kippur, for Yom Kippur, Sukkot. Shama Avui, his father heard about Rava, heard about the Shakal Mana. Arshkel says he actually took a weapon. I don't know. He took a weapon, a pistol, an M16. I don't know. The Nafak La'ape, he came out to greet his son. Amar Le Zonascha and his Geras. You remember your harlot? Basically, he was saying to him, you should have stayed 6 years in yeshiva. You come home, you spend 3 years only learning it. You're just coming home to be together with your wife. That's the reason. You just want a harlot. Alternatively, he told him, you remember your dove. You're a sweetheart. You're a nice guy. You don't have to love your wife so much. More importantly, you should learn Torah. Itrid. They became engaged in a fight. Lomar Ifsik. Neither of them was able to have the Sudas Mafsekas before Yom Kippur. And they had a very difficult Yom Kippur because they didn't have Sudas Mafsekas. It doesn't say they had a difficult Yom Kippur, but the Gemara says they didn't have the Sudas Mafsekas. So, after reading all these stories, both today and yesterday's stories, I'm left in bewilderment. I don't know the correct idea about husbands that get married and leave their wives for extended periods of time to learn. The Gemara yesterday said there were a number of Amoraim and Rabbanim that actually died because they left their wives for too long. Here today's Gemara seems to indicate that it's a good thing. Rabbi Akiva left for 24 years before he even was together with his wife. And here Rava, a big Amora, was upset that his son didn't stay away for the full 6 years. Hard to understand the Gemara's What's your opinion, Shmuel, about this matter? You think nowadays it would go over so well if a husband gets married and even before the Sheva Brachos is over, he goes to learn for 10 years away. What do you think about that? Do you think it would go down nowadays? Do you think that would work? Honestly, really. You think women nowadays are capable? And it's funny because you know what's funny about it, Shmuel? I have to tell you what's funny about it is that many years ago they didn't have Sarah Shnir, they didn't have Beis Yaakov. The education of the woman was not like it was today. Nowadays you go to seminaries, they tell you gotta marry Ben Torah, you gotta learning. Everyone's into learning. Back then, no one was into learning so much, and they would go away for such a long time. They didn't have the seminaries. They didn't have Beis Yaakov telling them, no, your husband has to stay and learning for the rest of his life. They didn't have that, and yet they went away for such a long time. Hard to understand, right?
Very true.
Very hard to understand. Rabbi Akiva, did he do the right thing or not? Did he? I don't know. Hard to say. I can't say. Based on yesterday's Gemara, it seemed like he did the wrong thing. I mean, the father, Rava, the big Amoro, we passing like so much. He took an M16 against his son.
There's a famous, all the yeshivas, they have the shmuz. Why can he just come? Why didn't he, if he heard that his wife gave him permission, why didn't he just at least come to the door and knock on the door and say, hello, nice to see you, I'm going back.
Rav Chaim Shmulevitz, Shmuel is pointing it out. I can't see, but come sit here, stand here. Shmuel, he was pointing out a famous Rav Chaim Shmulevitz, who says that the reason that he didn't just say hi when he came back and overheard his wife saying he can go learn for another 12 years is because there's an idea of Ritzifus. You're supposed to learn consistently, you're supposed to learn for as long as possible without a break, without a hefsek. And therefore, it would have been just 2 times 12 years as opposed to 24 years. There's a fundamental difference between 24 straight years and 12 years and another 12 years. And that's why he was able to accumulate so many Talmidim and reach such a great level. I have one question with the story. I mean, his wife came and kissed him on his foot. And he told his Gavoim, he said, leave her alone.
Yes.
If it was my wife, I mean, maybe, you wouldn't do this, but I would pick her up and give her a hug or something like that, This is my wife. You just let her kiss his foot and then just walk away? I mean, this is crazy to me. I mean, imagine someone, he never saw his wife for 24 years. She suffered to earn her own living for 24 years in poverty because her father took a neder, and she comes, they push her away, and she's able to manage to kiss him on his foot, on his shoe, and he just says, leave her alone. Hello, honey, I love you. Thank you so much. The Gemara doesn't say that. Where is that? What happened? Honey, I love you so much. This is the greatest wife in the world. Let's talk about her praises. Eishes Chayil. She just got down on one knee and started saying,
serenading her.
He should have sung Eishes Chayil.
That's right.
Eishes Chayil. Mimsa. Right? That tune. That's a nice tune, right? Not just the regular Eishes Chayil, the funny, the really moving Eishes Chayil, right?
That's right.
Eishes Chayil.
Yeah, but by the way, Eishes Chayil, the Eishes Chayil is not really a woman. It's not talking about a woman, really.
Right, it's talking about the Torah, of course. Okay, let's go on to the next Mishnah.
Very good, very nice.
Thank you, Shmuel, for participating. Amoredes al Baila. A woman, she rebels against her husband. Pochsila miksuvasa. She rebels. We'll see in the Gemara what is she rebelling from, either from Tashmish Amita, from relations, marital relations, or from just not doing work. Pochsila miksuvasa shiva dinarim b'Shabbos. If she rebels, she comes to the husband, I'm not interested in being together with you. So every week she deduct from her ksuba. A psula was entitled to 200 dinarim. Every week she is moredes, she loses 7 dinarim. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Shiva Tarpikin. Well, the Gemara will explain tomorrow what Shiva Tarpikin is. It's obviously a lesser value. And Masay Upoches, I can Ksubasa. Until when does he, decrease from her ksuba? Until the balance of her ksuba is deducted, and then he just gets rid of her without ksuba. He can really stay married to her and keep on deducting. Meaning, on what purpose of deduction? Because if she'll gain a Yerusha through her family, so he'll be able to collect that from her, even during her life. Someone, a man who rebels against his wife, she gets extra 3 dinarim. He says a little less, 3 tarpikin. The Gemara will explain why the woman gets less and the man is able to deduct more. Whereas Mored is Mimai, what is the rebellion over here? Rav Huna Amar Mitashmish. Rav Huna says, the discussion of Mishnah is that the rebellion of the husband and wife is they don't want to engage in tashmish hamita and relations. We also Rabbi Chanina Amar Malacha says they don't want to work for each other. They want to work to earn a living. Tan v'chena modir. The Mishnah says v'chena morid al ishto. Right? It talks about both the wife rebels against the husband and the husband against the wife. Vishalon Amar tashmish, that he's rebelling against tashmish hamita l'chaye. Right? Elmad Amar Malacha min meshubala. Does he have to work for her? In the Gemara says ba'omer any zan ve'eni mefarnes. Right, where he comes and says, "I'm not going to give you mizonos, and not going to furnish." Now the question really doesn't make sense. Now, of course, he's meshubah to earn a living for her, both sheira midoraisa and mizonos midorabanan. So the Gemara must be assuming that really the rights of parnasa are in the husband's, right? On the husband's achrayus, really, they're masakin first for the woman. And then, because we're talking for the woman, therefore they give Maisei Adayim to the husband. So he has no right, according to Rav Huna, to take away the mizonos. So therefore he takes away the mizonos. That's called a morid malacha. Any zanim mefaris. I'm not going to provide you with your ksuva, what the ksuva entitles you to, the basic mizonos, which is what she needs. So the Gemara asks, right? The Mishnah says you deduct from the ksuva, they stay married. Rav says somewhere else that if he says that, he has to give a ksuva right away. He has to get divorced. The Gemara says, no, when Rav said that, I mean you get divorced right away. You start asking him, how you doing? You start asking him, are you going to remain like this? Until you keep on deducting or adding to her ksuva, right? You add to her ksuva, he's morid. So you add to her ksuva until eventually, if he rejects it enough, we're convinced that he's not going to go back on his rejection. So therefore, you have to give the ksuva right away. Meisive. We have a question on both. We'll see on Rav Huna and the other opinion, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Chanina. Achasi arusa v'nesuah v'afilu nida v'afilu chola. The Moredes in our Mishnah is talking about whether they're actually married or just engaged, or she's a nida, or she's sick. Afilu shemeres yavam, even if she's moredes on the yavam, she's waiting for the yavam. Her husband had died. She's supposed to get married to the yavam, to his brother. She has not yet consummated yibum, and she's moredes. The same malachas would apply. So we're going to skip the parentheses because most girsos take the parentheses out. We don't usually read parentheses. So the last line, Bishlam Manda Amar min Tashmish. According to Manda Amar, it says moredes, and our Mishnah is talking about Tashmish. She's rebelling. She doesn't want to engage in marital relations. Hainu diktani chola. That's why it says chola, right? Because even though you're sick, it's not so hard to engage in marital relations. If you're sick, people like that. Is it her fault if she's a sick person? She doesn't have to do malacha. She can't be called a moredes. Everyone agrees. Both Rav Huna and Yosef Chanina agree. Tashmish kulamalo pligi to havia moredes. If she rebels from tashmish, she's a moredes. Ki pligi malacha. The question is, if she just rebels from malacha, Mar Savar min malacha lo havia moredes. Mar Savar malacha anami havia moredes. One opinion holds, even from malacha, she should call them moredes, which is Rabbi Yosef Chanina, and Rav Huna argues this is only mitasha shamita. You consider it a moredes. Gufa, hamoredes al baila poksalam miksuvasa shiva dinarim b'Shabbos. If she's married on her husband, you deduct from her ksuva 7 dinarim b'Shabbos. Rabbi Yehuda omer shiva tarpikin, like our Mishnah says 7 tarpikin. Rabbi Seinu chazro v'nimnu. After the original psak halacha, the Rabbanim got together and they concluded, they paskin, shiu machrizon aleh arba shabbos zu achazu, a different method of resolving the matter. They would go into shul 4 shabbosim in a row, right? When the rabbi is supposed to speak between Kriyas HaTorah and Musaf, instead of speaking, they start, listen to this woman, she's rebelling against her husband, she forgoes her responsibility to engage in sex with her husband. Imagine getting up in shul and saying that. This is what the Gemara says. And they send her a private message. Even if your ksuva is 100 mana, he gave you a large tosefes, 100 times the normal ksuva, you've lost everything right away. Meaning if she doesn't listen to this message. It applies in all these cases, like mentioned before. All these 5 cases, this applies. So upon hearing this brisa, Rav Yosef asked Shmuel, "Is Anida bas tashmashi?" We said according to everybody, moredes min tashmash is considered to be someone that is a moredes, right? How could you include a nida? A nida can't be together with a wife. Halacha, she can't be together with a wife. When she says, "I'm not going to engage in sex with you, in marital relations with you," so she's not at fault. There's a difference between someone who has bread in his basket and someone who doesn't have bread in his basket. So the seeming explanation of this Gemara is that when you have bread in your basket, right, you're not moredes. So therefore, right, while she's in nida, you can't be with her, but at least after the nida, you have bread in your basket. After she goes to the mikvah, I'll have tashmish with her. The moredes, when she rebels against her husband, so therefore he doesn't assume she's going to change her mind. So therefore, it's like he doesn't have anything in his basket. And he's worried he's never going to be together with his wife again. So therefore, even while she's in nida, she loses out on her ksuba, and the din of moredes applies even while she's in nida. I'm going to have a little different explanation of this Gemara, Mishaysh Pas Basal, Mishayin Pas Basal. And I'm also going to explain, we had the same exact Gemara, Mishaysh Pal, Eno Dom Mishaysh Pas Basal, Mishayin Pas Basal, on Samach Beis and Beis. I'm going to use that to explain the difference between the mitzvah of Ona and Tashva Shamita. Technically, these are two different terms, Tashva Shamita and Ona. Ona means the basic conjugal obligation, the obligation to have conjugal relations with your wife. Tashva Shamita means marital relations. Look at any of the art scroll of the modern day translations of Tashva Shamita. It's marital relations. Is there a difference between Ona and Tashva Shamita? Yes, there's a huge difference. And I have a little different explanation of Pas Basal Mishayin, but Pas Basal, in the Pas Basal may be even better than Pas Basal. He doesn't have bread in his basket. He's got steak in his basket. Bread is basic necessity. Steak is good stuff. All right. So, when we do this hachraz, you only do in base knesses, the base medrash, all the places, not in gourmet glad. It says 4 weeks as this one after another. If we're talking about a different event, events happen once in a while, but 4 Shabbos in a row, we know every Shabbos are going to be in the base medrash. Just to explain, when they send this message to her, they send it twice. Before they announce it 4 weeks in a row, and after the 4 weeks, they send it to her. And then if she still does not give in, so then we tell him to megarish her, and she loses her entire ksuba. Not like our Mishnah. There's no deduction, right? You just remachres, you proclaim it, you make a loud proclamation. If she doesn't listen, she loses everything. Amarava, hi burcha. He says this is a mistake in teaching. Amarle Rav Namar Yisa, my burcha say, what's the mistake about it? Anam recently hale. I'm sure the guy with Rabba. I'm recently hale. I told it to him. I told him the name of a great person. Uman, who's the great person? Rosh Rechanina. V'yu kaman savar Rava. Who did he like? Yahada Itmar Rava. Amar Rav Sheshes. Rava says the name of Rav Sheshes. Halachan imlachan ba. You consult with her, and if she doesn't listen to you, you deduct, like our Mishnah. Yehuda bar Yehuda, Amar Rav Sheshes halacha einim lachan ba. We don't consult with her, right? We send her a message. If she doesn't, and make a proclamation, a public proclamation, a public announcement. If she doesn't listen, she loses her entire ksuba. Hechi dami moredes. What's considered moredes? Amar Amimra, the Amra be'inalei umitzaranalei. I like my husband, but I want to have the upper hand. I'm gonna cause him pain by not being together with him. So my husband's disgusting, right? He doesn't dress well, he doesn't smell good, he doesn't keep proper hygiene. So, lokai finanla, that's not called a moredes. She has a right to not be together with her husband if he doesn't smell good. Marzusha amar kai finanla. Marzusha says, nonetheless, we're kofa him. We force her to be together with her to be together with him, even if she smells bad. Apparently, Marzutra was most, I don't know, he smelled bad. He had halitosis, bad breath, and they forced her to the Beis Din. They were together, and they had Rechina Misura, was a big rabbi. You see, that was right. Velowi, the Gemara says, that's not a proof. Hasam siyasa d'shmaya hava. It was, Hashem helped out the matter over there, maybe to make Rav Zvid not feel so bad that even though he had bad breath, his wife still was able to produce a gadol from their union together. That's the conclusion of today's shir. I hope you enjoyed. Stay tuned for a dramatic Ian with Rancion. We flip a line on its head in the Gemara, the explanation that everyone is familiar with. I have a new explanation, and it distinguishes between Ona and Tashma Shamita, you're not going to want to miss it coming up next.